Right. Welcome. Well, I must say Lorraine Hartson was going to cover this. And so I've got some materials from Lorraine. She's in District 5080, which is northern Idaho and part of Canada, which is just north of my district, which is southern Idaho, a little bit of Oregon. She has, she's the past district chair for Rotary Youth Exchange and the current chair of youth services for her district. And I'm the current chair for Youth Exchange for 5400 and incoming Youth Services chair for the district. In that poll, full disclosure here, in that poll, as a moderator, I couldn't participate in the poll, but I would have been one of the ones that said, no, we don't have written contracts with our students, behavioral contracts. We have rules that they sign, but it's not exactly a contract. And we have a disciplinary process, but we haven't used a written contract. So I'd love to use this time for a discussion on this, and perhaps some of your districts are using this. So to kick off this conversation, I'd love to just take some time up front and go around, since it's a pretty small group, and just tell us your role in the district, your experience with behavioral contracts with inbound students. And if you haven't, that's fine too, but just to kind of let everyone know where we are on this topic, that would be helpful for conversation. And then after that, I can share some materials from my own district and also from Lorraine. So let's see, let's start with Bob Connor.
Good morning. I am the district chair for District 5190, which is pretty much all of Nevada except Clark County, which is in the southern part of the state. And we also cover from Alturas down to Bishop, California, along the Eastern Sierra. So we're the largest geographic district in the lower 48. And in answer to your question, we pretty much follow exactly what you're doing. We don't have a written contract. We have guidelines for the students. Before the pandemic hit, we had adopted the soccer penalty system. You know, you get a yellow card, you get 2 yellow cards, it leads to a red card, and you're going home. And we do the counseling. You know, if you give the student a yellow card, it's like, why did you get that? Well, the reason you got it was you had to do X, Y, Z because you're not really following the rules laid out by Rotary. So I'm interested in learning more about a written contract, so we're really locking them into it and make sure they really understand where they're going and what they're getting into.
Great. Thank you, Bob. All right, let's see. Bianca?
Sorry, I have an older computer, so I'm not connected. There we go. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I have an older computer and I wasn't prepared for this session this morning until 5 till 10. So there we go. I'm in District 5520. And actually, I thought we were the largest geographic district. We are all of New Mexico and part of Texas. So we'll have to have a little chat. I am a district committee member, have been on for about 10 or 11 years. And we only have a contract when we have a person that has, you know, we're starting to see some issues. Then we do a contract with that student in the club, and these are the things that you're going to need to do in order to continue, or else we're sending you home. So we don't really have anything ahead of time. I think this might be very enlightening for me.
All right. Thank you, Bianca. Say, is it Chesa Keen?
Chesa.
Chesa?
Yes, it's Keen. I'm also District 5190. I'm the executive secretary for the committee. And Bob said we didn't have a contract, but in fact, we did present one to our inbounds the last time we had an inbound orientation. I'm happy to put it on the screen if you want to look at it. It's a pretty simple contract, but it's oriented toward Rotary Youth Exchange Conduct Agreement. Would you like me to do that?
Let's do introductions and we might come back to you then on that. I would love
Okay.
to see, I would love to see it. I have a contract to share as well, but it's longer. So it's from 5080. So yeah, get that ready and we'll take a look in a minute. Thank you, Chessa. And let's go to Dean Henricks.
Get myself unmuted here so I could talk. Yeah, I'm in District 5180, which is just west of 5190, Reno, and it's near Sacramento, California. And yeah, we have started with a signed agreement, you might say, of rules and that, and it's kind of morphing into a contract. And we've got a contract and we're working on right now. So our next group of students, I'm sure, will have a contract to sign. Excuse me a second. And we too have the 2 yellow red cards. And when we issue a yellow card, we actually have a form that both the student and the one that's interviewing or talking to the student signs for each yellow card. So we got records of that and whys and wherefores.
Yeah. Great. Thank you very much. Let's, who's next? Debbie. I don't have a last name. Oh, you're muted. Not yet. Can't hear you yet. There we go.
How about now?
Yep, now we can. Hi, Debbie.
Okay, it's Debbie Graves, and I'm with 5500, and I'm in Tucson, Arizona. And I'm really sorry you kind of got a dud with me because I just got this job yesterday.
All right.
And I see the outbound exchange, and I left the committee about 15 years ago. So, I mean, a lot has changed and I'm just catching up and I'm just going to learn from you guys. And so I'm really sorry. I have no
That's
input
okay.
into this group.
You're
I apologize, but
That's
I'm
good.
enjoying this. I'm enjoying it a lot.
Good. I'm glad you're here. And your job is to tell us if we sound crazy as someone who's just learning this then.
No, but you know what? I like that soccer system.
Yeah.
I think that that's something that younger people could really relate to.
I agree. All right. Thanks, Debbie.
Thank
go
you.
to let's see, is it Michelle or is it a hard C? Macau?
It is Michelle, and you did it correctly. You're about
Okay.
the one of 25 in the world that pronounced it correctly the first time. So I'm impressed. I apologize. I didn't find out about this till a couple of days ago, and we are currently in Nebraska, and I'm with my 1-year-old and 4-year-old grandsons. So I don't look presentable, so I apologize for not being on screen. I am with District 5495. That is the northern 2/3 of Arizona. And Donna Getzenberger is our chair. I assist with the inbounds, or I'm in charge of the inbounds. We use the soccer system, the red light, yellow light, red light. It has been excellent. We also use what you said in the beginning, Mike, about the little, I don't know how you worded it, but it's in at the orientation, and there's a suggested rules. There's no formal contract. So we're very interested in that. We have had some recent experience of having to return to students. So this would be something that is going to be very beneficial for us.
Great. Thank you, Michelle. Who have I missed here? Pamela.
Yes, I'm Pamela Gott from Vashon Island near Seattle. I'm just the youth exchange officer for our Vashon Island Club, but we've had lots of exchange students. And we have what we call a behavioral contract. It's not an official one. It's a list of rules, and we go over everything and what happens and what will get you sent home. And, you have the warning system, and then if you do something that's really drastic, you get sent home the next day, because we have the tickets already, they have their tickets home already paid for. And we say, you do this and you're sent home right away. And we can give them some examples from past years. Luckily, we haven't had to send anyone home for the last several years, but I know our district chair wanted to know especially, is there something really much more official that you're doing for the contract as opposed to what we're having them sign? Because they do sign just the list of rules, and that they realize what will happen if they break the rules and stuff. So he wanted me especially to hear and tell him what's different about this than the list of rules that we have them sign, so that they all know what the consequences are if they, break the rules.
Right. Right. Yeah, that's the same here. We, in my district, we actually have them sign a set of rules. And we have them do it before they show up, and have their natural parents sign it as well. But no behavioral contract yet. So we'll get to take a look at a couple of them here. So, well, all right. Well, thanks for being here. And we have one, I think this is Phelps Bloom is on the line. And Phelps, where are you located?
I'm in Levelland, Texas. I'm a member of District 5730. Supposedly, I think that is the largest district with regards to territory, not membership, but territory in the state of Texas. And I'm just a district governor nominee, and I'm trying to learn as much as I can about youth exchange. I participated and helped with youth exchanges as far as providing programs to those students once they come over. But as far as actively being involved in the administration of the department, I have not. So I'm just one of your governor-elects about to be that's trying to learn a little bit more about youth exchange, the policies and the procedures. So I'm like some of the others. I don't have much to help you in this area, but I am here to learn.
All right. Thanks for being here. Really happy that you're taking the time for your district to learn this, because this could get complicated and sticky in a hurry. It's always good to have a governor who's aware of it. I think I caught everybody. Is that right? Okay. Well, let me show you. I'm going to share my screen and I'll tell you what I have here. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good deal. All right. Well, let me just show you a quick. This is for my district. We have this rules document, and it's one of those documents that was shorter a few years ago, but then when the students learn new ways to get into trouble, we have a new rule. But so unfortunately it gets longer. But I was looking at it the other day and I thought, gosh, it's too long. We need to have this narrowed down, because I don't know if anyone's actually reading it. But at any rate, this is the best that we have for the time being. We have that's the wrong page. But we overnight stays is a good example of how do you navigate that, and we have, and what I found is, let me find the yellow card, red card disciplinary process, because this is the extent. My apologies for, here we go. My apologies for the scrolling, but this is the extent of the behavioral contract that they sign, which is just a very general yellow card, red card system description. And we use the yellow card, red card system. And this is something we actually haven't used it yet. We intended to use it last year, but things were canceled. So and the yellow card being a warning, and the red card being, for the first rule infringement. And after they receive one, then a second infringement results in a red card, which means an early return. And there are some rules, such as those like breaking laws, getting in trouble in that way, could be an immediate red card. So, and decisions for issuing yellow cards and red cards are made by the chair of the committee in consultation with inbound coordinators, counselors, YEOs. be communicated in writing and through discussion with the students. So we left it open so that we didn't, since it's our first time into it, we wanted to leave it open so that we could have discussions and make decisions about situations case by case. Realizing that there's some risk in not having it buttoned up completely and that there could be some potential for inconsistency. But when I look over the past and how we've dealt with disciplinary issues, I see a lot of inconsistency. So we thought, well, this is a baby step toward some consistency in our district. So we put this together. I'm happy to share this document or any of the documents I have too. So that's the one I have from myself. Now let me share the ones from Lorraine. And so I looked at these for the first time yesterday. So we're new. This is all new for both of us. She has in 5080 a document that they laminate and give to their club volunteers and district volunteers. Uniform discipline process, and they have a yellow card, red card, but they have listed out the offenses that could be included. I'll just pause so you can take a look at this. Looks like we've got basically the 4 Ds in red, mostly. Districts may choose to review behaviors, oral warnings by the club YO counselor. The need for a second yellow card may result in a red card. It sounds like it may, but I guess that's up for discussion. Process is firm but fair, and then they have this flow chart. The club informs the district YO. So it's really at the club level to determine this. Consult with all affected parties. A contract is written, and I'll show you the contract next. It's reviewed by the district YO, or I guess that's the district chair, and then copied to the host district governor and the sponsor district, who shares with the natural parent. So if you're a yellow card, then you do contact your overseas partner and inform them of the situation. Review undertaken by host club. Success, no further action. Unsuccessful, initiate consequences. Debrief with all parties and document. And then the red card. Upon learning, district chair informs the counterpart. There needs to be a conversation about sending a student home. Disagree, escalate per, what is this? Rotary operating procedures. So they've got it. That's pretty, this seems pretty good for a resource for everybody. That's one thing I've found in our district is that the communication of how this works has been problematic, where our club volunteers may not be aware of how it works, or they may be left out completely. When something happens, it goes straight to the district leadership, and then the club is unaware of what's actually happening with that student. So I do like in this that you're educating the club volunteers in advance and keeping them in the loop in that process.
Mike, I'd like to have a copy of that too. And
Yeah,
what district is this from?
This is from 5080.
5080.
Yeah, so let me and when we get through this, I'll try to put it in the chat because I can upload files into the chat you can download, but also just to be safe, I'm happy to send these to you, email these to you directly.
That'd be great.
I will.
Yeah, I'd like that.
Pause here for a moment. Can you might have gotten my email messages, but my email is mike@markley.com. And if you want to email me, I will reply with that, or I can go through, I can, at some point I'll be able to go through the registration list and just send it to. But. Okay, let's take a look at the contract. Obviously we can't read this here, but it looks like this is it identifies an area for identifying that problem, what the expected behavior is. And I think this is probably includes everything possible, and then you would go through and delete what's not relevant in the situation. Timeline for corrective action, and then potential consequences if that plan isn't followed. Failure to make, or an effect on your classes, or an effort in your classes by participating, handling work in time, receiving passing grades will result in loss of privileges, such as participation in youth exchange events, may result in your being sent home. So I see that they have, consequences. It doesn't go straight from yellow card to being sent home. It could be yellow card to not getting to go on optional trips or something like that. Failure to resolve the problem related to inoculations will result in you being sent home. That's probably earlier. It said something about schools requiring that to be taken care of. So I'll send this too. So this document is 5 pages. So I'm going to stop sharing here. And Chessa, you had a shorter version. That you want to share that now while we're taking a look at
sure.
this thing?
I
Oh,
misspoke. I misspoke in that I said it was for, you gotta let me in. That it was for inbound, but it was actually a short outbound, but could be modified. It's not as detailed as the one you've seen, but it's a lighter version. It's kind of contract light.
You know what, Chessa, I don't have the power to allow sharing. I'm just a co-host and not the host.
Oh, okay.
I can't promote.
Am I able to upload anything into chat?
Yeah, maybe it'll let you post the file in the chat.
Yeah, I'll do that. It's like I said, I'll do the word version. And it is, it was really addressing more behavioral problems and what kids might think when they're away from home that they've got a little easier time of it. But I'll send it out right now.
Oh, I sent a file, but I meant to send it to everyone. Let me try this again. This is going to be.
Okay, there it is.
All right, I'll download it and then I'll put it on the screen. Okay, can you all see this conduct agreement?
Yeah.
Okay. Rotary Youth Exchange Conduct Agreement, behavior goal setting, goals related to exchange preparation, related to, so it looks like some of these may not apply in each situation. Is that how you would use it?
And it is oriented to the outbound kids.
Oh, okay.
So I think that you could take the other side of that coin and flesh it out for the inbounds as well. When they come in, we're doing the same thing you guys are. We're going over all the rules and, the travel arrangements and what they can and can't do. And there is a contract in the actual application, that they and the parents signed, but that's so long ago from the time they were selected that this is kind of nice as a tingle reminder to say, we expect you to do certain things and behave certain ways. We've actually changed our 4 Ds to 5 Ds, the last D being no disrespect, because most of the issues that we deal with are with occur around a disrespectful behavior.
Yeah, that's a good idea. We always talk about the other D as being don't make your host parents mad, but that's kind of the same thing. And don't disrespect is broader. Great, thank you. Do you mind if I share this when I share the other items with folks?
Oh, I would love to. I mean, please, that's Word format, so you could change it whatever way you want, and the layout is pretty nice, so.
Okay. Super. I'll stop sharing and I can bring up any of these as we go forward here during the discussion. So what's your initial thoughts here? Anyone on this process or details in the context of your district?
Well, I think it's kind of sad that we have to go through all this, but it's mandatory now too, because of all the legalities of things, and you have to contract it. Otherwise, it's he said, she said type of situation, and it's what the world's coming to. So we got to do it.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, we're also asking them to begin entering into their adult life, and adults have contracts all the time. So it's a commitment on their part to behave as expected.
I like that idea. It's a learning tool also. They're going, like you said, from adolescence to adult, and they're going to learn sooner or later that there's consequences to their behavior.
Right, and it could be the first contract they've ever signed.
That's interesting. Yeah.
I had my hand raised. But I have 2 questions. Is this okay?
Yeah. I was just going to call on you. I just noticed it, and I'm sorry I didn't see it.
Thank you. That's okay. I just wasn't sure, if it was seen or not. One question is, with the contract, how broad are they suggesting it to be? Because the more minutia, I think that adds a lot of dangerous areas. To say you may not go to your, boyfriend's house at 7 p.m. on a Thursday. Narrowing it down so much. What are your thoughts, or anybody?
Yeah, I think it's like security at the airport. They kept elevating the security level, and then the bad guys kept figuring out how to thwart it. So you increase you get more specific, and then and then you can find more little minute loopholes. Well, why can't I go there at 6:59 then?
Yes.
Yeah. So I guess there's just a double-edged sword there, I see.
The second question I have is in terms of, we had the 2 students we had to send home year before last. Well, actually, no, that's not true. They got sent home in February last year. And they both said to me at independent times, because they could not be together because of an incident that happened, they both said to me, but we didn't think you really meant it. Now, they had read it at orientation. They had been talked with their counselors. The counselors had both spoken to me. And so, I don't know how to get it further across, except that your decisions have consequences. And as an adult, if you get caught smoking pot, you get some time. And we meant it. We didn't just say it to hear ourselves talk.
Don't you think the written contract actually emphasizes that in the way that that argument, we didn't think you meant it, kind of loses juice?
Oh, absolutely. And they do sign the rules that we expect from them. The one that Mike put up earlier, we have something similar, and they did sign it. And we said, I pulled it out of the packet and I said, here is your signature. You said you read this, and this is what we expect. You also have been spoken with, and prior to things that happened. And they just, I think it was a realization that, wow, I really did screw up. And now I'm going home. How dare you catch me?
This sounds like something to use in an orientation, and telling the students then, I'd use the example that the last student I sent home said that they didn't think I really meant it. Now they know.
Yep.
We had a student about 3 years ago decided to go her own way. She was a little over 18. She went out and bought a car, and then mom got upset because we sent her home because she bought a car and was driving. Go figure, huh?
Did she get to keep the car though?
No, because she was from Austria and Lake Tahoe, so she had to sell the car.
I know we had, when you said, she'd bought this car, it made me remember one of our students who bought a lot of marijuana and got sent home and wanted to know if she could keep that. Anyway.
They're kids after all. I mean, their brains are kids. Their heart is kids. Their brain is maybe a little smarter, but their heart doesn't listen.
Yeah.
I was going to say, we had a student that thought that American money was like play money. It didn't seem real. And so he was using his credit card and he rang up all these debts. And then he just couldn't figure out why he kept getting all these notices. And we had to have a talk with him and his host family. And he borrowed some money from them. And so then they set up a contract for him to do all these things to work it off by helping to do work in their yard and all these other kinds of things and stuff. We finally got him out, but we canceled his credit card because it didn't seem like real money at all. And he was so thrilled buying all these clothes and things in the United States. But he didn't really understand the monetary system at all. But he worked out well finally, but we needed to work with him.
That is a problematic area for a lot of students that outbounds who kind of get themselves into a pickle. It's the first time they've managed to, money beyond like a weekly allowance or something. And then, yeah, we had an outbound that her parents sent her all the money for her Euro tour, a couple $1,000s, and when it just went away without paying for the Euro tour, and she didn't know how she spent it, but she did. I mean, it took them a few months, but they got the records from the bank, and it's like, wow, yeah, no, you spent it. Yeah. Let's see. I know that during orientation, a lot of Michelle, you have your hand up. Sorry. Please go. Go ahead.
Sorry, just another question that on the contract, I wonder if anybody else has had this. We have the same, I believe it was the second woman's contract, that the district, is obviously approached when the red light occurs, the red card occurs, and will make the arrangements for return travel, which we had no problem with the district at all. They said they would have done exactly what we did. However, the parents didn't purchase the ticket, and they kept saying she needs another week. And we kept saying, no, she's being sent home in 2 days. Finally, on the second day, nothing was being done. And they said they couldn't get anything. You know, it was way too expensive. So we ended up getting online, purchasing a ticket for $1,200 less than the father said he could get. And she, we charged the the sponsoring district, and they got the money from the father. But has anybody else had that problem?
Yes, we have that
We
problem.
require them to purchase the ticket in advance when they first come in. So we have that ticket already paid for before they're allowed to enter the country. They have to give
Well,
that when they arrive at the airport. That
right, we require they have a return ticket also, but apparently it was going to be above an additional. I don't know why. I don't know what the procedure for it was.
It's probably the last minute ordering of that ticket. We had the same problem. The counselor didn't want the kid to go. The kid didn't want to go. His parents back in Germany didn't want him to go. And it was a fight to get him out of the country. And we won the fight, but it was expensive. And that was their complaint, that it was going to cost them an extra $200 or $300, which is, that's something they should talk to their child about, not us.
yeah.
Exactly. Thank you.
What do you all think about when you're thinking about the disciplinary process and the behavioral contract? I know that, you know, I came into the chair role right as you know, these cancellations came in. So I'm a year into the role, but I was 6 years into outbound coordination. So inbound is a little bit new for me. I only filled in on inbound program sorts of things coming into it. And I didn't have to send anyone home during that time because I wasn't the inbound coordinator, but I assisted with, you know, to fill in for folks. But and as I witnessed the, you know, the process for that, I saw that there was a lot of case-by-case decision making. We didn't really have a lot of process in that. That's something that I wanted to change because I didn't want to be inconsistent in how that stuff was handled. But I just wonder if how you and your districts, how do you handle that consistency from one case to the next, and how much do you allow yourself to make decisions on the fly? You know, like it might be just some attitude differences between students and how they approach an error in judgment, you know, or something. But how do anyone have any thoughts on that topic?
I do. One of the things that we have to work on is consistency, because they talk to each other. You'll have a kid say, well, my parents did this for me. Why don't your parents do that for you? So we have this issue with the kids talking to each other about their treatment, about the different school structures, about the different parental guidelines and rules of the house. And it's difficult. It's one of the things we have to talk to them about initially, is that your experience is yours, and don't try to extrapolate your fellow exchange students' experience into your own, and then treat it like you've been treated unfairly. So it's difficult. So consistency is one thing that we can offer them.
Yeah, that's a good point, that the students do talk to one another. Probably from year to year, they talk with one another too.
I think there's definitely some issues, like on that form you had up here a little bit ago, that there's definitely red flag issues. Those have to be consistent. Now on the others, the yellow flag, and in our case, we have 2 yellow flags before the red one. But there you could sit down and talk with them and explain their behavior, what happened. And there, I think you could use a little judgment as how good a student they have been. Did they just trip up once here? And but you can't let them just accidentally trip up twice and get by with it.
Yeah. That reminds me of a question I had early on, and in your district, do you allow students to get to clear a yellow card, so that if they clear it, they've redeemed themselves, and then if they have another incident a few months later, do they go back to yellow or do they go to red?
I think that's why we have 2 yellows before the red.
Yep,
If we had just 1 yellow, I can understand that, I could see it. But with 2 yellows, no.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right. I think if you give them a yellow and a chance to redeem themselves, then that yellow goes away and they start over. That's the way I would understand that.
But with that,
I would agree. We talk to our student, and if there's a problem, explain what the problem is, and have them basically, like I was sitting down and talking to an employee. This is your contract. You have 60 days to clear up this problem. If you don't do it, then we're going to have a more serious discussion. If you do clear it up, then the next incident becomes a new incident altogether.
with that approach, how many times can they clear a yellow card?
There you go. Good question.
Well, how many times do you allow your employee to clear up a problem before you really slap them up alongside the head and fire them?
Yeah.
Well, I think this is the advantage of that 2 yellows before the red. And same way with employees. Yes, you can, I don't know that they ever clear them. It's going to stay in their file what their problem was or what their issue was. And you just don't accept too many of them.
Right. I would agree.
Just the idea of being able to have more than 1 yellow is a comfort to me, because I think if it's just 1 yellow, then and if you communicate this across, then there's probably situations where, like, I could take you to a yellow card, but I think I'm gonna just like pretend this didn't happen. But if you have this 2, or whether you clear it and have more than 2 or more, whatever, but then you don't have to overlook anything, right? Then everything is a yellow card. Then that makes sense to me too, and that way that as the chatter between students occurs, that they're like, well, they might not give you a yellow card for that because you just lied about whether you went to school or whatever, I don't know, but something minor. So that and then there can be that inconsistency potentially.
To me, a yellow card to me would make me toe the mark a lot quicker if I knew I couldn't get rid of it. If I could work it off and then be able to get another yellow one, what the heck, let's go.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I tend to think it's collective behavior. So it doesn't go away, it's dealt with, and then they move on. And if they do something again, it becomes collective behavior. Because we tend to have kids who do nothing wrong ever. And then we have kids who just one right after the other are pushing the envelope to see what they can get away with. And those are the ones that have those side gangs of other exchange students. And we actually found a Facebook page called How to Beat the 4 Ds. So it's a challenge sometimes for these exchange students to beat the rules. That's just who they are, and that's what they're trying to do. And they need to be willing to take the consequences. You didn't beat the rules.
So that's the age group we're talking about, pushing the limits to see where it is. How do they know where the limit is if they don't push it?
Well, we've heard so many times that these kids appreciate limits as much as they kind of tell us they don't. Inwardly, we've heard when they grow up that, man, I sure appreciated having those limits. They may not say it in those words, but they do. And so that's something we have to remember in the back of our minds You know, I always tell myself, yes, they're an exchange student, which means that they're, you know, a little above most of the other teenagers in the world. Oh, but they're still a teenager. So, but I think with a student that's constantly pushing the limits, I think there just needs to be a serious conversation. And that's like, you know what, this is going above and beyond. It doesn't necessarily deserve a yellow card, but if you know, not really deserve a red card, but what is your purpose? Remind them, why are you here? Is it just to get away from home because you think that you can be free and do whatever you want and while you're on exchange, or are you here really to promote peace and learn a new culture and integrate with a new family? So you just have to remind them, and if they don't have the right answer, well, then maybe it is time to give them a yellow card.
Yes, and there's always the students that feel they're smart. They are, they make a great impression in an interview. They arrive and they're a little entitled. So, you know, when they start asking or expecting that the Rotary Club will drive them to and from school when it's a 1 mile walk, and we should provide Uber money to go there, but not an introvert, just and the counselor was willing to put up with that. So I think we also have to engage the Rotarians. She ended up having an okay exchange, but I don't think the club would agree that she was fabulous. It just, I was appalled that she would ask for money for her Uber. And it's like, you get allowance, you get your, what do you call it? Your allowance, and use that, your money, to get to and from school with an Uber, if that's what you have to do. She had a bicycle, which she used in her country, by the way, every day.
Yeah, I remember a very entitled student, a young man in our home. It's like, you can help clear the table. Why? Because I said so? No, because we're here, we're doing things for you. You need to learn to do in exchange. And oh man, he just didn't get it. Man, it was just tough. He was tough. But yeah, I think very entitled, a young man from Denmark, I think relatively wealthy, you know, and then comes into our not so wealthy home. And yeah, those are hard because they're not really doing anything wrong, but they're not doing their best to integrate and learn. And so that's frustrating on my end.
Debbie, you're raising your hand.
Oh no, I have the story to end all stories. I had a student that finally was the worst. It only took her 2 weeks to find the local Coke dealer. I mean, you name she systematically went through every rule and did just the opposite. We sent her back, and her mother called me and said she was getting an attorney to sue me because she was told that Rotary would fix her daughter.
Wow.
Whoa.
Yes, and she was, you know, adamant that how come we sent back the same kid. And this was the most entitled child I'd ever seen in my whole life. Right? There's a lot of really strange parents out there.
Yeah, I was just thinking here in the last couple of minutes how, you know, sometimes the lessons in life don't come easily. And so when we're talking about behavioral contracts and breaking rules and so forth, those are also really good learning opportunities for those students. And I suppose that how we handle it can really influence their future and how they view adults or the USA or Canada or wherever they're placed in. And but then there are situations like that where maybe the student isn't going to learn anything at all. I don't know, but I do think about, like, in my day job, I work in learning and development and safety training. And we talk about, how do you change behavior? How do you build systems that allow people to mess up a little bit without killing themselves or killing somebody else accidentally in a safety situation, to build that capacity for failure? And one of the key things in the workplace is, how does leadership respond to an accident? How do they respond? Are they focused on the well-being of people, or are they focused on covering their rears so they don't get in trouble? So I think that we have an opportunity here, when students are in that yellow red card space, to, I guess it's tough love, like you're going to need to go home, but you're also going to need to think about how you might learn something from this. And I guess I haven't had to have that conversation with a student yet, since we're on hiatus here, but I do look forward, I don't look forward to it, but as I look forward to those kind of conversations, I hope I can do that sort of thing. And I hope that we have some rules or some guidelines here in place that we can support that.
Well, I know these conversations like that are difficult, and it's hard not to have a little emotional attitude with it, but I'd have to encourage you to set the boundary and stick to it. That teaches them, even though it's hard.
Yeah.
I tell you, it's hard to send a student home, but if you can set the boundary and stick to it, they'll learn more than if you let them stay.